Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care.
The air was heavy with the scent of ash and burnt metal as Theodore crouched in the shadows, heart pounding against his ribcage. The remnants of their once thriving city lay in ruins around him, a painful reminder of what had been lost under the oppressive rule of the Altherans. Stone buildings jutted up like broken teeth against the darkening sky, ominous and cold. Yet at the center of it all stood the Pillar of Shame, a towering structure that loomed over the landscape, a stark monument to the cruelty they enforced. Chained to this pillar was the embodiment of hope, a captive who represented not just pain, but the spirit of an entire race. Theodore had heard whispers of her, a creature of beauty and strength, whose presence offered a flicker of resistance against the overwhelming dominance of the Altherans. He had to be the one to free her. The Pillar of Shame was surrounded by guards, brutish figures clad in dark armored suits, their faces obscured by imposing helmets. Theodore watched intently, waiting for an opening. He was no stranger to danger. Each battle fueled his hunger for justice. But this was different. He felt an inexplicable pull toward the alien woman chained to the pillar, as if their destinies were intertwined. Crouching low, Theodore focused, stilled his breath. He had been trained for this moment through years of skirmishes, honing the skills necessary to strike against their oppressors. But beneath the warrior's exterior lay a man haunted by the memory of losing his family to the Altherans, now burned into his consciousness with every beat of his heart. Finally, the guard posted closest to the pillar shifted, exposing a vulnerable moment. With practiced deftness, Theodore surged forward, slipping through the shadows like a whisper. The adrenaline surged through his veins, quickening his steps. He reached the base of the pillar, his eyes settling on her, Camilla. Her skin shimmered against the dark stone, an ethereal beauty that contrasted sharply with the despair radiating from her chains. Delicate tendrils of luminescent hair cascaded around her face, framing bright eyes that glowed with a fierce defiance, eyes that seemed to see right through him. In that moment, he locked his gaze with hers, and something sparked between them, a quiet understanding. The moment didn't last. A loud shout broke the air as the guard caught sight of him. Theodore didn't hesitate. He used his blade to slice through the chains binding Camilla, freeing her from the pillar's grip with one swift motion. The sound of clinking metal echoed, drawing the guard's attention. "Run," he urged, his voice straining against the rush of chaos. Without waiting for a response, he grabbed her hand, feeling the warmth of her skin against his. The first touch of what felt like hope in a long time. Together they dashed into the shadows of the crumbling city, hearts racing as the guards shouted behind them, a haunting reminder of the world that sought to claim them. Theodore's heart pounded wildly as he and Camilla sprinted through the labyrinthine streets of the ruined city. Panic surged through him as he glanced over his shoulder, the shouts of the Altheran guards growing louder, their heavy boots pounding against the ground in pursuit. As they rounded a corner, he pulled her into an alleyway, pressing against the rough stone wall. Darkness enveloped them, and he felt the warmth of Camilla's body next to his, a momentary refuge. He could see her breathing heavily, eyes wide with both fear and determination. "Thank you for freeing me," Camilla whispered, her voice barely a breath, filled with a resolve that steadied Theodore's racing heart. "But we need to move quickly. They won't give up easily." Theodore nodded, unsure of what to say. Words felt inadequate to express the bond forged in those frantic moments. He had come for her, yes, but freeing her had awakened something deep within him, a new purpose, perhaps. "Where do we go?" he asked, his voice steadier now. "There's a hidden passage near the outskirts of the city," she replied, her gaze unwavering. "Old tunnels used by my people to evade the Altherans. If we make it there, we might escape. Lead the way." With a flicker of confidence, Camilla took the lead, guiding Theodore through the maze of despair. They weaved through alleyways and dodged debris, their steps swift and efficient. As they reached the outer limits of the city, the towering shadows of the remnants began to thin, and the air felt fresh, charged with the promise of freedom. Suddenly, the sharp sound of metal clanking caught their attention. the sound of guards approaching. Quickly, Camila urged, urgency lacing her words as she spotted an entrance to a dilapidated building, its structure crumbling almost beyond recognition. They ducked inside, just as the guards rounded the corner, their figures harsh against the dim light. The two pressed themselves against the wall, breaths held tightly in their chests. Theodore could feel the heat radiating from Camila beside him, a stark contrast to the chill of fear running through him. The guards moved past, their voices a menacing murmur. "We have to keep going," Theodore urged when it was clear that the coast was clear. They moved deeper into the crumbling structure, searching for the hidden exit. "How do you stay so calm?" Camila asked, a hint of admiration in her voice. The question caught him off guard. Calm. He felt anything but. "I'm not," he admitted, sinking against the wall as they paused momentarily. "But I can't allow fear to dictate my actions. Not now. Not with you here." Camila looked at him, her gaze piercing. "You remind me of our warriors back home, fearless and driven, no matter the odds." For the first time, Theodore smiled. "And you remind me that there's still beauty worth fighting for." As they shared a moment of connection, the urgency of their situation crashed back down around them, a reminder that their fight was far from over. It was then that Theodore knew he would do whatever it took to protect her, not just as a captive, but as an ally, and perhaps even as something more. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from behind, the sound of their pursuers tearing through the building. "Go!" Camila shouted, pulling him toward the hidden passage she had mentioned. Their fate rested on their next choice, the path of escape toward freedom or betrayal by the past that still haunted them. The passage was narrow, its walls damp and covered in moss, the air cool with the scent of earth. Theodore and Camila squeezed through the opening, desperate to put distance between themselves and their hunters. The faint sounds of chaos from the building behind them faded into an echo, replaced by the soft drip of water and the scuttle of unseen creatures. As they ventured deeper into the tunnel, a sense of urgency clung to them, driving Theodore's every move. He glanced at Camila, her features illuminated by a lone ray of light filtering through cracks in the ceiling above. There was an intensity in her gaze, a blend of fear and determination that fueled his own resolve. "Are you all right?" he asked, concern tinging his voice as they trudged through the darkness. "I can't believe I'm finally free." Camila's voice trembled ever so slightly, but her grip on his hand remained firm. "But I worry. What if they catch us? What if they don't stop?" Theodore felt that same worry lining his gut, but he forced himself to stay positive. "We won't let them. I promise we'll find a way out together." Their footsteps echoed in the confined space, the journey daunting and uncertain. To Theodore, it felt surreal. Just moments ago, she had been chained to the pillar of shame, a victim of the brutal regime that oppressed them both. Now they were in this struggle together. His heart swelled with an emotion he struggled to identify. Was it camaraderie or something deeper? The tunnel twisted and turned, leading them through a maze that felt endless. Occasionally, they would pause to listen, the sound of distant footsteps reminding them of the danger still lurking behind. Each time, the tension drew them closer, breaths mingling as they huddled in silence. "What's your name?" Camila asked unexpectedly, breaking the silence. "Theodore," he replied, glancing at her with a smile. "But you can call me Theo." "Theo, I like that," she said, her lips curving into a soft smile that lit up the claustrophobic darkness around them. "And you? Why do you fight?" "Because I've lost everything to these monsters," he confessed, his voice low. "My family was taken from me, and I refuse to let them take anyone else. Everyone deserves to be free." A spark of warmth ignited in her eyes. "You're not just fighting for yourself, then. You're fighting for all of us." They came upon a fork in the tunnel, with one path leading further into the depths and another slanting upward toward a faint light. Camila hesitated, studying both routes. "We should go toward the light," she determined. "It could lead us outside." "Then let's move," Theodore agreed, his heart pounding as he felt a surge of hope mingling with the lingering fear. They forged ahead, Camilla leading the way, each step bringing them closer to freedom. As they rounded a bend, the tunnel opened into a vast chamber, its walls adorned with ancient symbols glowing faintly. At the center lay a pool of water, its surface shimmering with a brilliance that cast dancing reflections on the stone. The beauty of the moment momentarily stole their breath away. "What is this place?" Theodore asked, captivated. "It's one of our sacred sites," Camilla whispered, awe-colored her voice. "A place of refuge. My people used to come here to commune with the spirits of our ancestors when we were free." The moment quickly passed, and the weight of their circumstance returned. "We don't have time to linger," she urged, a shadow of urgency crossing her features. As they approached the light at the far end of the chamber, the echo of footsteps came crashing back, unmistakable and ominous. Theodore felt the hair on the back of his neck rise. "They're getting closer," he said, adrenaline surging through him. They rushed toward the light, pushing through a narrow opening that led them to a rocky cliff overlooking a vast landscape. The sun's rays bathed the horizon in vibrant colors, a beautiful sight juxtaposed against their dangerous escape. "Down there," Camilla pointed at a dense forest below. "We can hide in the trees. It's our best chance." Without hesitation, Theodore took her hand once more, and together they scrambled down the rocky ledge, adrenaline propelling them forward. With the guards hot on their trail, they slipped into the embrace of the trees, heartbeats pounding in sync with the rustling leaves around them. As they fell into the shadows, Theodore glanced back, just in time to see the guards arriving at the cliff's edge, eyes scanning for their escaped captives. "Stay low," he whispered, crouching in the underbrush as they hid from view. The thundering of his heartbeat drummed in his ears, each second an eternity as they waited for the guards to pass. "We need to find a safe place to regroup," Camilla said, her voice barely above a whisper. The duo remained silent as the guards shouted at each other, frustration seeping into their voices. Theodore felt the oppressive weight of their predicament, but with Camilla by his side, the darkness felt less suffocating. "In this forest, we can find shelter," Camilla said, her voice steady once more. "I know where we can go. Follow me." With a silent nod, Theodore allowed her to lead, the two of them slipping further into the depths of the forest. Every rustle of leaves, every shadow loomed larger than life, but they pressed on, a human and an alien, bonded by circumstance, united in their quest for freedom. The thick canopy of the forest embraced Theodore and Camilla as they ventured deeper among the ancient trees. Sunlight filtered through the leaves above, casting dappled patterns on the forest floor, providing a momentary sense of calm. The sounds of the guards faded like echoes in the distance, but the weight of their escape pressed heavily upon them. "Here," Camilla said, leading Theodore to a clearing surrounded by thick vines and foliage. "This should offer some cover." They ducked into the natural shelter, breathing heavily as they finally halted their flight. Theodore leaned against a sturdy tree, exhaustion pulling at every muscle, but he couldn't let it overwhelm him. His gaze shifted to Camilla, who was examining the surroundings with a quiet intensity. Something in her demeanor drew him in. The way hardship had shaped her spirit, how fear hadn't snuffed out her light. "Thank you, Theo," she breathed, her fingers brushing against the dirt and leaves, grounding herself in the moment. "For saving me." The words felt like a balm to his weary heart. "I couldn't just stand by. You were in pain, and you deserve to be free." Camilla looked up, her luminous eyes glimmering with gratitude. "You know, not all humans would have done what you did. You're different." "Different how?" He couldn't help but ask, curiosity pulling him closer to her. "You care. You fight for something larger than yourself. In my culture, that's rare. The Altherans have made us wary and distrustful, even among our own," she explained, her voice gentle but firm. Theodore felt the truth in her words. "I understand that we're shaped by our experiences. The Altherans have robbed us all of peace. They thrive on fear, but we don't have to let them dictate our lives any longer." Camilla studied him, clearly absorbing the weight of his statement. You call it fear, but among my people, it is also interwoven with respect for tradition. We fear our captors, and many believe that embracing our traditions will give us power. Tradition can bind you, but it can also empower you, Theodore replied. What traditions do you hold dear? Camilla hesitated, her expression shifting as her mind danced through memories. We honor our ancestors through rituals. In particular, our mating rituals are sacred, acts of union and understanding between two beings. He felt a tug at his heart. Mating rituals? Yes, they symbolize the blending of lives, cultures, and strengths. It's a bonding beyond just physical, it's spiritual. She smiled softly, the warmth of her expression easing the anxiety that lingered between them. In these moments, we remember our roots, our battles, and the need to fight for freedom together. May I ask how that works? He questioned, intrigued and inspired by her description. It involves sharing stories, embracing one another's essence and vulnerabilities. The experience connects us, body and soul. Camilla elaborated, her words infused with passion and reverence. It's a way to honor each other's strengths, our existence. Theodore's heart raced as he met her gaze, feeling a magnetic pull between them. It sounds beautiful. In my culture, relationships are often seen through the lens of conquest or property. But what you describe, true connection and understanding, sounds like the antidote to everything we've lost. Camilla's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Do you believe it's possible for a human and an alien to connect like that? I want to believe it is, he replied, his thoughts swirling with a yearning he hadn't fully understood until now. But our worlds are divided. Fear keeps us apart, and the Altherans exploit that division. But they can't remove what we feel inside, Theo, she said, stepping closer, her expression earnest. The connection we've forged, you rescued me when I felt utterly lost. It is a bond that transcends our differences. The intensity of her gaze held him captive, breathless and uncertain. You're right. We're fighting for not just our lives, but for something greater. Connection, unity, and ultimately, hope. Silent acknowledgement settled between them as they shared the gravity of the moment. Two beings from worlds apart standing shoulder to shoulder against adversity. Their fates had entwined, weaving a tapestry of potential futures. Come, Camilla said suddenly, breaking the intensity with determination. We need to find food and water. The forest can provide, and we should gather strength for what lies ahead. With a nod, Theodore followed her into the heart of the forest, feels of awe washing over him as they ventured together. As Camilla moved gracefully among the trees, gathering edible plants and fresh water from a nearby stream, he couldn't help but admire her resilience. Tell me more about your people, he urged, eager to learn, to understand. My people are known for our art and storytelling, she said, her enthusiasm shining through. Every tale holds the wisdom of our ancestors. As we share these stories, we honor their memories and remind ourselves of our strength. Theodore listened intently, fascinated by her passion and the vivid snapshots of her culture. What stories do you hold most dear? Camilla paused, her expression reminiscent as she began. Once, a brave warrior faced a formidable beast to save their village. The villagers thought they would perish, but the warrior found strength in love, fueled by the bonds of their community. When they returned victorious, the village sang songs of hope and unity, celebrating not only survival, but the remarkable ties that brought them together. The story resonated deeply with Theodore. In my own life, I fought for those same connections. My family, though lost, they instilled in me the value of fighting for each other. As they shared stories, roots of their histories intertwined, creating a burgeoning sense of trust. In that serene forest, beneath the embrace of ancient trees, something monumental began to blossom between them. Threads of connection and understanding sidled up to the shadows of their past, the hope of a brighter future glimmering just beyond their reach. Days turned into nights as Theodore and Camilla moved deeper into the protective embrace of the forest. Under the shelter of the ancient trees, they orchestrated their survival, relying on each other's strengths. Theodore's knowledge of combat and survival, and Camilla's innate connection to the land and her people's traditions. The pulse of the forest began to feel like home, but there was still a world outside that required them to act. It was time to climb the ranks of the resistance, to gather allies, and strategize their fight against the Altherans. Theodore felt a sense of urgency mix with the bloom of determination in his chest. The time for escape had passed. Now they needed to inspire others. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in twilight hues, Theodore sat across from Camilla by a small fire they'd built. She was preparing an herbal concoction she swore would keep them energized for the next phase of their journey. "Tell me about your people," Theodore prompted, intrigued by the resilience that radiated from her. "How are they organized? What can we leverage to build this resistance?" Camilla looked thoughtful, the flames reflecting in her eyes as she stirred the mixture. "We once had a council that governed our clans. They could unite our strengths against the Altherans, but the council has become fractured. Many of my people have lost hope, scattered in fear. If we can reach them, perhaps we can reignite that hope." "And how do we find them?" Theodore asked, leaning forward eagerly. "We have to move. There are safe havens, remnants of old outposts where some still gather," she explained, her voice steady despite the weight of their mission. "We will need to travel under the cover of night and use the hidden paths you're unfamiliar with. My people know to avoid the Altheran scouts." "The risk is worth it then," Theodore replied, determination blazing in his eyes. "This could be our chance to solidify our numbers and rally support." The next night, they set off, following a hidden trail that Camilla could sense in her bones. They navigated the dense thicket cautiously, hearts tuned to the sounds of nature and the distant bustle of the Altheran patrols. Each step they took felt charged with purpose, a palpable energy enveloping them. Hours passed, cloaked in darkness, and soon the forest began to thin. Camilla pointed to a small clearing where the ruins of an ancient settlement lay half hidden by vines. "This is it, the first safe haven," she whispered, her excitement mingling with anxiety. "If any of my people remain, they will be here." They crept into the ruins, the dim light of the moon illuminating the remnants of what was once a vibrant community. The air thrummed with a feeling of anticipation, the potential for allies sparking hope within them. As they entered, they spotted a few familiar figures, ponytailed warriors and elders seated in clusters, sharing low whispers. Camilla cleared her throat, stepping forward, her heart racing while Theodore remained at her flank, ready for anything. "My people," Camilla called, her voice steady and strong. "I am Camilla of the Sereth clan, and I have returned, no longer a captive." Surprised faces turned, disbelief painted on some, while others approached with hesitant relief. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, but Theodore could feel the energy shifting. Camilla stood tall, sharing the essence of their escape, their fight against the Altherans, embodying the hope he had always nurtured. "The Altherans believe they have broken us, but together we can rise again," she asserted, her fierce spirit igniting the fire of resistance within the group. "Theodore stands with me, a warrior willing to fight for our freedom. We are here to gather forces, to unite against our oppressors." The skeptical murmurs began fading as individuals emerged, some tentative, others emboldened by her words. Theodore took a bold step forward, his own resolve joining hers. "I've lost friends and family to the Altherans' cruelty. I will fight alongside you. We can reclaim our freedom." One of the elders stepped forward, a grizzled man with eyes that told tales of loss and resilience. "We've lost many. Trust is not easily earned among our kind. What do you propose?" "We must strike at their supply lines, disrupt their communications. We can't simply endure. We must dismantle their hold on our lives," Theodore stressed, fueled by conviction. "And this time, we can fight back with both human and alien unity." A spark of recognition ignited in the gathered crowd, tentative nods of agreement fluttering like leaves in a breeze. Camilla positioned herself next to Theodore, the power they shared illuminating the gathering. "Will you stand with us?" she implored fiercely, looking into the eyes of her people. Moments felt like hours as silence swept over the assembly, until an elder clapped his hands together and raised his voice. We will stand together. Camilla is right. We must unite our strengths in this fight." The atmosphere shifted, the momentum building into something tangible. Together, they began to discuss strategies, planning their next moves, and Theodore realized that the gathering was more than just soldiers rallying. It was a reunion of lost hopes, a family reawakening. As the night deepened, the sparks from their conversation lit a fire in Theodore's heart. They had ignited not just rebellion, but purpose. The vision of a united front against the Altherans took form in their minds, a tapestry woven from the threads of their combined courage and resilience. In that moment, recounting tales of their sacrifices and losses grew into laughter and the warmth of shared stories, right there, beneath the moonlit sky. In their resolve, a community began to form again, united by a common cause and fortified by the bond that embraced both human and alien. But even as Theodore basked in the glow of newfound alliances, awareness settled among them. They were still against a powerful enemy, and their journey was just beginning. Hope surged in the face of their shared future, battling against the dark that loomed ever closer, a reminder of everything they stood to lose. The air was charged with a fierce energy as Theodore and Camilla stood at the forefront of their gathered allies. The new coalition, a blend of human and alien warriors, had grown stronger in the days that followed their reunion, united under a common goal: to dismantle the Altheran regime. The plan was daring. Under the veil of night, they would attack a key supply depot located at the edge of the forest, one that fed the forces oppressing their people. Theodore glanced at Camilla, her demeanor resolute, and he felt the warmth of their shared bond strengthen as they prepared for the impending battle. They huddled close, sharing hushed words of strategy and encouragement. Each warrior wore a determined expression, knowing that the test ahead could mean the difference between living in chains or embracing a future of freedom. "Remember," Theodore addressed the troops, his heart swelling with pride and determination, "we must keep our minds focused and our hearts unyielding. We fight not just for ourselves, but for every life stolen by the Altherans. They want us to suffer in silence. Let us shout for the world to hear." A chorus of agreement rose around them, the voices of men and women, aliens and humans, mingling into a singular battle cry that echoed through the night. As they approached the supply depot, shrouded in darkness, silent signals guided their movements. Camilla slipped into the forest's edge, leading them through the concealed paths she knew by heart. Theodore followed, heart racing, feeling the pulse of the forest beneath their feet. With each step closer to the depot, tension coiled in the air. The sound of guards patrolling reverberated, but their steps were confident, emboldened by the shared energy resonating from their new alliance. Suddenly, the signal was given. With a swift motion, Camilla raised her hand, and the warriors surged forward into action. The battle erupted like a pre-dawn storm, shouts and clash of weapons filling the air. Theodore fought alongside Camilla, each movement rhythmic, like they had danced together many times before, an expression of unity and trust. Their strategies that merged human ingenuity with alien grace proved effective, taking down guards one by one. Yet, amidst the chaos, danger loomed like a storm cloud. As Theodore maneuvered through the fray, he spotted the hulking figure of an Altheran commander, fear radiating from within him. The commander's eyes narrowed as he focused on Camilla, the woman who had dared defy him. "No," Theodore shouted, spotting the glint of rage in the commander's eyes. He pushed through the fighters, adrenaline surging through him as he reached Camilla, just in time. "Stay back," she screamed, her voice cutting through the din, and he felt his own pulse rocket to the adrenaline-charged beat of the battle. The commander lunged toward her, weapon raised, his intentions clear. In that split second, their eyes locked, the world around them fading. Theodore's instincts kicked in. With a swift motion, he interposed himself between Camilla and the commander, feeling the heat of the moment burn between them. "You will not harm her." Theodore roared with defiance. With a strike, he clashed blades with the commander, the force of their combat sending shockwaves through the air. Every strike felt like a dance of fate, and in their exchanges, he could feel Camilla's eyes on him, fueling his strength. The commander fought aggressively, but Theodore was relentless, fueled by a resolve that burned brighter with each passing moment. Finally, with a calculated move, Theodore disarmed the commander, his blade resting against the Altheran's throat. "It ends here." The commander sneered, desperation creeping into his eyes as he realized he stood at the mercy of one he'd underestimated, one who fought not just for rebellion but for love. Unexpectedly, a flicker of light emerged from behind, and Theodore turned just in time to see another wave of Altheran reinforcements charging toward them. Panic surged, but Camilla stepped up beside him, resolute. "Together!" she shouted. In a final push, they rallied their combined forces, their voices melding into a unified battle cry. With renewed vigor, the coalition pressed forward, human and alien united, pushing against the tide of oppression. As the echoes of battle surged around them, the tide began to shift. The Altheran forces were overwhelmed, their unity faltering against the cohesive force of Theodore and Camilla's new alliance. With one last determined push, the commander's forces scattered, retreating into the night. The sound of their panic filled the forest, and amidst the smoke and chaos, triumph surged from the hearts of Theodore and Camilla. They had stood together, and in doing so, they had ignited a revolution. As dawn broke, casting a golden light across the battlefield, the gathered warriors stood together in silent victory, panting and weary, but alive with the taste of hope. Camilla looked at Theodore, her eyes shining like stars. "We did it. Together, we've proved what unity can accomplish." Theodore took her hand, gripping it tightly, the warmth of her touch grounding him in reality. "And we will continue to fight, to grow stronger. This is just the beginning." In that moment, the reality of their connection settled deep within him. Their friendship had become something monumental, entwining their lives in a way that transcended the horrors they had faced. They had forged not just an alliance, but a bond that advocated an entirely new way of being, one based on love, unity, and rebirth. The sun rose higher, illuminating the forest, washing away the darkness of their past. Together, Theodore and Camilla stepped forward to face their future, hand in hand, a human and an alien, partners bound not by chains, but by the promise of something greater. As the days turned to weeks, the tide of the uprising against the Altherans shifted dramatically. Under Theodore and Camilla's leadership, their coalition of humans and aliens gathered strength, expanding their ranks with every passing day. The newly united warriors began reclaiming territories, establishing safe havens for those who had suffered under the regime's oppressive rule. The sound of laughter, once stifled by fear, now echoed throughout the forest. Camilla's people shared traditions and stories with Theodore's, weaving a rich tapestry of culture and resilience that honored their shared struggles. Camilla led ceremonies to honor the lives lost during their fight, and Theodore stood by her side, proud of their new legacy. They held mating rituals that celebrated both their cultures, a powerful symbol of unity, blending their strengths and deepening their bond. In ceremonies under the stars, they danced together, surrounded by their newfound friends, and the energy of togetherness pulsed around them, a living testament to the healing power of connection. But the battle was far from over. They continued to gather intelligence, striking strategically at key targets, dismantling the Altheran regime piece by piece. Each encounter brought new challenges, but with every victory, their unity thrived. One evening, as they stood atop a hill, overlooking the vast expanse of their forested refuge, Camilla turned to Theodore. "It's incredible what we've built together. I never imagined my people would regain hope like this." Theodore smiled, feeling the warmth of her hand in his. "It's the strength found in coexistence, in understanding one another's pain and triumphs. We were shaped by our struggles, but now we forge a brighter future together." Their eyes met, and in that moment, they knew their fates were intertwined forever. With the burgeoning empire of the Altherans crumbling beneath them, they stood at the dawn of a new era. "We'll keep fighting," Theodore vowed, determination accentuating every word. not just for those who lost their lives, but for the generations to come. Camila nodded, the weight of her responsibility mingling with the exhilaration of possibilities. Yes, and we will ensure that our stories live on, that they carry the hope we have ignited today. As the sun dipped beneath the horizon, painting the sky with vibrant oranges and reds, they stood united, ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead, with both courage and love to guide them.